Have you ever asked yourself, why am I here? In the same place I've been before. Maybe it was a past fear or failure that is coming back up again. Or maybe it's the feeling of rejection or feeling unloved that's coming back up again. Or maybe it's lust or pride that's coming back up again. And you felt like, I have conquered this. This is in the past. Why is this situation coming back again to haunt me? And it's coming back again. And you're in the same place that you've been before. Well, guys, I just want you to know that you are not alone, because the disciples, the very followers of Jesus, were in the same place that you are feeling right now. They're in the same circumstance that you are in right now. And so in Mark chapter 8, we're going to look at that today. So join me. My name is Katie. This is Mark chapter 8, and we are journeying through the Mark series together. So let's go ahead and look at Mark chapter 8. Jesus and his disciples are with a large multitude of people, and this multitude has traveled 3 days to listen to Jesus teach. And Jesus has compassion over this multitude, because while they have traveled for 3 days listening to Jesus teach, they have gone hungry because they are so desperate to hear a word, to be fed spiritually, that they have neglected the fact that they have not been fed physically. And so Jesus says, I can't send them away to their own houses because they've come from a long way away. And the disciples of Jesus say, well, we are in the middle of the wilderness. There's nowhere to get food for all these people here. But I want you to remember that Jesus and his disciples back not too long ago were in the same situation where there were 5,000 men and women and children, and there was no food, and they were out in the middle of the wilderness, and Jesus said, you get them something to eat. And the disciples were like, where are we going to get food for this many people out in the middle of nowhere? And Jesus made a miracle there with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish and provided for all of the people there. But in this situation, the disciples aren't remembering what Jesus has done for them in the past. And they are looking at their circumstance instead of looking at the one who is in control of their circumstance. That is Jesus Christ. And he is in control of our circumstance as well. And so Jesus wants to feed all of these people. And he commands the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he gives them 7 loaves of bread. He takes the 7 loaves of bread and he blesses it and he breaks it and he has the disciples feed it to the 4,000 people that are there, and he makes a miracle. And the bread keeps going and going and going, and there's some fish there that he breaks, and it keeps going and going and going. And you know what? The disciples, they took 7 baskets full of leftovers after everybody ate and were filled. Later that day, they're in the boat, and the disciples of Jesus forgot the bread as they're in the boat. And Jesus says to watch out for the leaven of the Pharisees, and watch out for the leaven of Herod. And what he is saying is that leaven in bread is an influence to make it rise, but leaven in this context, he's talking about the evil influence. Watch out for the evil influence of the Pharisees and the evil influence of Herod. Watch out for the hypocrisy and the false doctrines and the evil. And he's using that analogy with the bread, but they're actually thinking he's talking about physical bread. They forget that they don't understand that he's trying to teach them a spiritual truth. They're focused on the physical problem here, not the spiritual one. Yet again, they're thinking amongst themselves, oh, he's saying this because we forgot to bring the bread. We forgot to bring the bread. And I want to read to you in Mark chapter 8 what Jesus says to them. In verse 17, but Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive nor understand? Is your heart still hardened? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember? And I want to stop right there and apply it to our lives. The circumstance that you are in, where it feels like, that fear has come back again, or those doubts have come back again, or that feeling of rejection and being unloved is coming back again. And you thought that was conquered, and here you are again. And Jesus is saying, why don't you understand? How is it that you don't understand? Is your heart still hardened? Because with that fear, you don't have to be afraid. That rejection, I call you a child of God. You are not rejected. You are accepted through Christ. And whatever it is, Jesus is saying, you've been there, and I've been there too, and I have provided for you. You have eyes. Why don't you see? You have ears. Why don't you hear? He walks the disciples through their past circumstance. In verse 19, when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments did you take up? They said to him, 12. Also, when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets full of fragments did you take up? And they said, 7. So he said to them, how is it that you still don't understand? In other words, look to your past. How did Jesus provide for you before in that circumstance? Think back to the past. Jesus is going to provide for you this time too. Tell yourself, I have eyes, I need to use them. I have ears, I need to use them. I don't want Jesus to ask me the question, is your heart still hardened? And have you forgotten what I've done for you? This is Mark chapter 8.